Hi everybody, I'm Valerie Jurik. I am the creator and speaker always, helping people figure things out in life. So my class, should I stay or should I go? Should I stay means aging in place, and how do you do it properly? Should I go? I choose not to stay in place and age at home. What communities are available for you to go to? And there's lack of education. So we're here starting new classes. So the aging in place part I did last month. Today we have Miss Coleen Jones. She's from a company called All About Seniors. And what they do is if you're interested in going to a community, assisted living, independent living, CCRC, nursing home, regardless of where these communities are, their organization will help you understand it. They'll take you to different communities if you're interested to. You don't pay them a fee, they just do this. Okay, because they get their fee that's collected by the community if you choose to live there. So they'll take you wherever, and they're educators about senior living and retirement communities. So today we're going to be talking about where to go if you choose to go. And having an understanding, this information, I was just talking to Coleen, that having an understanding of where to go for retirement communities if you don't want to stay at home is not free-flowing information. It's not. Businesses will tell you about it, but once you give them your name or your email, they'll never let you go. It's just like inundated, right? It's all about the money and how much of this, and they want all your information. We're not about that. Information should be free, you should be empowered to make your own decisions, okay? So with that said, Coleen, thank you very much for the time today.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go, and we have this room here you can start over here, so I'll be sitting over here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Coleen Jones, and I am a senior living specialist with All About Seniors. I've been in the senior industry for probably 25 years and have worked in communities like independent living, assisted living, memory care over the years in different capacities. Most recently, I was executive director of an independent living community. I've been in the sales, I've been in the admission process. My love has always been working with seniors and helping them, get into places that are appropriate. And so I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the different options of senior housing. The folks that we place and that we work with, the families that we work with, are all private pay. So these communities that I'm talking about today are not Medicaid communities, but that's definitely something that if anybody has a need for a Medicaid community, I can definitely guide you and provide you with resources in that regards as well. So understanding senior living options. Why senior housing? Senior living communities offer a range of benefits to enhance the quality of life, safety, and well-being. The top 10 reasons people choose senior housing: for social engagement and community, so they all will have a full-time activities director that will program daily events from first thing in the morning until in the evening, whether it's exercise programs, crafts, games, a variety of things. Safety and security. So a lot of them will have an on-site concierge that's there 24 hours a day. So if somebody's living alone and they're in one of these communities, they have the safety of knowing that there's somebody there that can assist them at any given time. Maintenance-free living. They all have maintenance directors to come in and change your filters, your light bulbs, that sort of thing. So you don't have to worry about the fees and the expense of doing it yourself. Mowing your lawn, people don't think about that too. So you don't have to worry about doing your yard work and that sort of thing. Access to healthcare and wellness services. Senior living communities will have that. They'll have on-site partnerships or partnership vendors that come in and provide these types of services. Nutritious meals. They vary at each community. Some of them you can opt for to purchase. Some of them are just 2 meals a day, and some of them will provide 3 meals a day. So it just depends on the community and what type of community. When we talk about assisted living, I will point out that they do provide 3 meals a day. Recreational activities and amenities, we talked a little bit about that. Transportation services, most of them will have a van that will provide transportation to events in the community, grocery shopping, and even doctor's appointments. Cost management, so obviously everybody has a budget, so when you go into this place, you're gonna wanna know, what's the average rent increase, what's, your rent gonna be, so that you can manage your finances and not expect that the following year you're going to have a 20% increase or that the rent on your apartment is going to go up. Family peace of mind. A lot of times your loved ones will be concerned if you're living at home and you're not getting the socialization or the nutrition that you need. So it also provides peace of mind to your family knowing that you're in a community being taken care of. 55 plus communities. They are age restricted, so there's several of these in the Wake County area, and you do have to be at least 55 to live there. So the main difference is 55 plus communities are apartment style living, but it's not multi-housing. So you know that you're moving in and you're not going to be living next door to maybe a family that has a 5-year-old that's up in the middle of the night and that sort of thing. So again, it's all senior living in this one community, not multi-housing. Independent living with age-friendly amenities rather. Recreational facilities, pools, golf courses, social activities, and clubs. So they all vary depending on which 55 plus you're looking at. There are some in the area that have pools in the community, whether it's outside or inside the building. And then there's some that have partnerships with local YMCAs or fitness centers that they regularly schedule, the bus going over and taking folks to the pool or to the exercise area. Target population, so these are folks that are active and healthy and that are just really seeking an environment that's vibrant and active with folks their own age. Independent living. So independent living, again, is a residential community designed for seniors who are generally able to live independently. And we use the word generally because independent living communities most likely have on-site partnerships with physical therapy, occupational therapy, and even speech therapy. So if somebody is living in this community and maybe they have a fall or they have a stroke, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move out of that community into an assisted living. The on-site partnerships will be there to provide home care till you get back on your feet and you're independent again. So when we say generally able to live independently, sometimes that's not always the case when you come in independent and then need supportive services. They will all have private apartments or houses, so it's no shared living. It's not like you're living and sharing an apartment with somebody you don't know. Again, community activities and amenities. They're going to have on-site fitness centers. They're going to have pools, and they can provide minimal assistance with daily activities. So again, this target population is going to be active seniors without significant health issues. Assisted living. So assisted living communities are all licensed by the state of North Carolina.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
So the last group, independent living. Let's go about cooking for a second, okay? So independent living, are meals included, or do you have a kitchen and you do your own cooking at independent?
So all of the independent communities are going to have their own kitchen. Now it may be a kitchenette, maybe not a full-size fridge, maybe not a full-size stove, but they all will have their own kitchens. And the meal programs vary per community. Some of them, you don't get any meals, but you can pay extra. So they may still have, a dining service staff that will, cook, and you can come down and buy the meals for, say, $10 or $12 a meal. Some of them, the independent living, included in your monthly rent, they'll provide 2 meals a day. Generally, it's breakfast and dinner. There are a handful of independent communities that we work with that provide 3 meals a day. And then there's some that do a spend down. So they'll include maybe a $500 allowance in your rent. So you decide, if you're busy in the morning but you want to go down for lunch or dinner, you present your card and it spends down that money. So
I have a question that's just general.
Yeah.
All of us know as we get older, things happen. I mean, today your leg hurts, tomorrow you're fine, and the next day you've got a headache or whatever it is. And eventually, I would say most often, you're going to wind up with some difficulties along the way. Let's say you go in and you're fine, everything's working great, all of a sudden something stops working right, and you're half an invalid for a while or whatever that is. And how does that play into this assisted living idea? I mean, it almost must be some type of a rolling thing that goes along that even if you start healthy here, the next day you may have something here, but maybe here you're okay again. You know,
Right.
How does that all play?
Yeah, that's a great question. So people that are, we can go back and look at the independent living. So when people move into independent living, they are truly independent in their ADLs. So ADLs are activities of daily living. So bathing, dressing, taking their own medication, that sort of thing. So on a whole, generally, people that live in independent living are completely independent in that. But as we know, some people may have slight memory issues and they may need somebody to come in and remind them twice a day to take their medication. These type of people are definitely still appropriate to live in independent living, and that's why the independent living communities have on-site partnerships with home health agencies, or if you know of one in the area, you can bring them in. It is an extra fee. So it would be somebody coming in to provide services like, say you said you had a sore leg and then you found out you had a blood clot and somebody was sick for say 2 months, it wouldn't necessarily warrant a move to an assisted living. So most communities will want you to age in place and stay there as long as possible. That's why they provide the extra resources to come in, but it is private pay, it's extra expenses. It's not that it's racked into your rent, your independent living rent. So if you had somebody,
All right. So do you understand what she's saying there? So
Yes, I do, and I guess I'm still wondering, I think that every day something's different.
Right, so I'm gonna jump into frame in a second, hold on a second. I'm back, thank you. I interrupt like this all the time, I'm annoying. But independent living is living where she said you can function on your own. You don't need help to bathe. You don't need help to eat. You don't need help in every day to live there independently, right? So if you're saying something happens, say you break a leg, say you have a hip, it's not something you get on Monday and you're good on Thursday, right? So you need services brought in. What she's explaining is that in this independent living, they have healthcare services on premise in there. Like you don't have to go to the doctor. Like if you just need therapy, a physical therapist, whatever. They have in these facilities, like I don't want to name a company. Let's just say Liberty Healthcare. I don't want to say it, but they're on staff. So if you have Medicare, you have whatever insurance you have, they take insurance, just like a regular doctor would, as a physical therapist. They'll come up to your room where you come basically down to they have a facility, and you'll do your physical therapy there. But let's say you need someone to come into your unit where you're living, because you need
So independent living
you can make it assisted.
Then.
Yes, independent is great, and you can bring these services in for the period of time you need it, because like you said, you have an issue for a little bit, but then you get better. And that's exactly why they have services on staff. If you have help for that moment, that month, or 2 months, you're fine. Independent living is not going to say, get out, because something's wrong, you know what I'm saying? They're not a good soccer player.
Yeah, and something to point out too is, independent living communities, they're not going to have nurses, they're not going to have certified aides, they're not going to have people, that are providing bathing, dressing, that sort of thing. They're not going to have people coming and checking in on their residents. They may ask you to pull or push a button every morning by 11 just to make sure that you're up and you're moving, or they'll send somebody up to check on you. But a big difference between independent living and assisted living is assisted living provides continual care around the clock.
That's included in your rent, your monthly.
Your monthly rent, right. So you're going to have somebody checking in on you at least every 4 hours of every day.
So I guess then the question would be to me now, then let's say you go with independent living and you become deteriorated and all of a sudden you need help.
Yep.
And would you stay in the same place, or would you give it up and go
So it's not 100% certain that you would stay. It really depends on the community.
How bad?
As long as there's not a skilled need or a safety issue. Some communities will try to keep you as long as possible and like Valerie said, not kick you out. So then they enlist in these, say, here's some services that
So
can help.
independent living is a pretty good choice to make.
It is,
If you
yes, yes. And it's at the point where there's a safety issue. So if there's a safety issue for a resident living there and they're not seeking these outside services, then obviously it's a liability to the community. So then they will have that conversation with the resident or the family and say, you know what, we'd love for Mr. Jones to stay here, but he really needs to have somebody checking in 3 times a day and helping him with this or that. If he chooses not to, this is not a safe place for him, and you may give a 30-day notice. It's not normally likely, but that could be the case. So I don't want to say, yeah, when you move into an independent, you can stay there indefinitely. It's case by case, but every community that we know of, they have the services in place and they try to keep people there as long as possible.
Can you call in your own services?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or you don't have to use,
It's just if you have it, it's,
because we all have our own
convenience. Yeah.
PCPs, maybe
Yeah.
specialists that we see.
Yep, absolutely, yep. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about assisted living. I did say, they're licensed by the state of North Carolina, so they do have rules and regulations that they have to follow. So they will have a nurse on staff, they will have a med tech that will come around every day and give medications to the residents. I've worked with many families that their loved one didn't want to give that up because maybe they were a registered nurse all their life. Typically with the doctor's note, you can keep your own medicine in your room, but it's not that common. So they usually will administer medication. They'll have CNAs and PCAs, which is a patient care assistant or a certified nursing assistant on staff that can provide bathing, dressing, medication, as minimal of assistance that someone needs all the way up to pretty heavy care. There's even a community that we work with in the Wake County area that can provide 2-person assist. So a lot of times somebody, if they're bedridden or at the end of life or they just are immobilized and can't move, they might need 2 people to help them out of bed, or they might need a Hoyer. Most assisted livings will say we can't accommodate that just because of the great care needs that is involved. They have to empower more staff on board, that sort of thing. So that will warrant a move to skilled nursing, but some of them, well, one of them in particular can do that type of heavy care. So somebody that's in assisted living may not need a lot of assistance, but they have that peace of mind knowing that, maybe they have a major chronic health issue and they know that in a couple years, they're going to need heavy assistance. Sometimes with Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, that sort of thing, they know they're in a place, they're making the choice when they can. They may not need the services right up front, but in a couple of years, the services are there for them to have. So again, it's going to have, the social events, they're still going to have activities, transportation. Pretty much all assisted livings have partnerships with visiting doctors. So if you have a regular primary doctor in the community, that's fine. They usually can take transportation out there, or families can, but they also have partnerships with physicians that will visit weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how many people. So the PA will come right into the community and see you in your apartment, and you don't have to get up and get dressed and go to the doctor and come back if you think you have a UTI or something like that. So they make it really simple to have these on-site things. So memory care. Memory care is, again, assisted living. They're licensed by the state of North Carolina, and memory care is specifically for folks with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. If somebody has dementia or Alzheimer's disease, they still can live in assisted living. The big difference is somebody's at risk for wandering or eloping. So if somebody is ambulatory and they have dementia and they're trying to open the doors and there's safety issues, then this would be a great place. The programs are specifically for folks with memory care. The environments are typically a lot smaller, so some assisted livings could have 100 beds. Memory care, usually it's one floor. It's easy to navigate, easy to get around. You either have your own apartment or shared, just depending on what the place is. But in order to reside in a memory care, you must have a diagnosis of dementia. Family care homes. So family care homes are a relatively new thing in the area. Again, it's like an assisted living, but they are homes you may not even notice unless you see the handicap ramp in front of the home in the area. But they're scattered all over Wake County, and they're homes licensed for anywhere from 4 to 6 people. So it's a very home-like environment. They provide meals. They'll have nursing staff right there. But it's a smaller environment, so you get to know the folks that are living there. You get to know the staff better. The staffing ratios typically are a little bit higher than your assisted living. But it's a great option for folks that would maybe get swallowed up in a big community. It's just more of a home-like environment for those needing assisted living.
I've had dementia most of my life.
You have what?
I've had dementia most of my life, Esther.
He talks about that, yeah.
You can't remember anything?
That's his diagnosis.
Just as mail is right there.
And then skilled nursing facilities. So skilled nursing is a step up from your assisted living. And the main difference is when somebody has a skilled need that has to be taken care of by a registered nurse. So it could be a wound. It could be a decubitus wound or a wound on the heel or that sort of thing from being bedridden. And they maybe have a wound vac machine. So those types of things you can't have in assisted living. If somebody is on continuous IV, that's skilled. If somebody's tube fed, those are all skilled needs, which would entail a stay at a skilled nursing facility. Again, if somebody becomes heavy care and they're bedridden and they can't move or do anything on their own, and they do need 2 people to assist them with all their care needs, then that would most likely warrant a stay in a skilled nursing facility. They'll have on-site rehab services, so they'll have PT, which is physical therapy, they'll have occupational therapy, they'll have speech therapy, all right there in the building to come down to the patient's room and provide these services, which are covered by Medicare. Again, the different things that wound care, medication management, and IVs, that's a difference that can't be cared for in assisted living. So seniors needing intensive medical care is what skilled nursing is. So independent living and assisted living combination. So there's a lot of communities, but I don't want to say a lot. There are some communities in Wake County, Cary, Apex area, that sort of thing, that will have independent living and assisted living in one building. So, and even sometimes have memory care. They'll have all 3. And it's very nice because it's multiple levels of care in one community. So you wouldn't have to actually leave that community and go find another place to live. You would just kind of transfer. You would have to move out of your apartment if you were an independent and needed to go to assisted, but it's an easy transition because of the familiarity of staying in the same place. Options to bring in services into the home, and when we say into the home, so when somebody's living in independent living, your apartment is your home. So you have the option to bring in PT and OT and that sort of thing in your home, just as you would if you stayed in your own home independently, not in a community. Again, the emphasis is going to be on aging in place. So again, not having to move somebody out of one community into another, staying in one place and aging, which is what people prefer as opposed to having to make multiple moves. Continuing care retirement communities. So CCRCs are the places that have it all. So they'll have independent, they'll have assisted, they'll have skilled, they'll have memory care, all bundled in one. The big difference is these places will have upfront fees, and they can go anywhere from, I think the cheapest one I know of is about 20,000 upfront fee, all the way up to, say, 125,000 upfront fee.
year?
Yes, in the Wake County area, yeah. They're all over. They're in Cary, they're in Raleigh.
Did she say a year?
Yeah, per year.
No, per year, it's one
Oh,
time.
I
The
thought she
big
said
fee is only one time. You pay it when you first sign in to get in. But what's the waiting, here's the fun part, what's the waiting time to get into a CCRC?
They're long waits. There's some that are brand new that have openings, but some that have been around for quite some time have months, even years of wait lists.
Sign up now.
Continuing care retirement communities, like I've been talking.
We'll take you next year.
I've been talking to a lot of people about CCRC, and people like the idea that you're coming independent and if something happens, like what you were saying, if something happens while you're in, they will just, the same community, but they're just moving to a different apartment, which is all, and moving into a different apartment, the more care you need, you just move into different apartments, but it's all in the same, say, campus, right? And that's what people like because this is the big thing, it's the fear of the unknown. So if I'm just an independent living and I need assisted living, will there be a space for me? Do I have to go on a waiting list? You don't know. So people say, I'll pay this up front, but this is probably the most expensive way to go. People out of fear, they'll go in on the independent living and the continuing care retirement and pay 2-3 times more per month because just the knowing that you will always have a place to go. If you need to go independent to assisting, you will have a place to go. If you need assisted to nurse it, you have a place to go. You're not going out of one community into a different community on the waiting list. And that, from all my talks I've been doing around, people are saying, I need to get on that list. It's out of fear. It's out of pure fear of not knowing what's going to happen or they have to wait on a waiting list. Truth is, if you're independent, you guys are, right? If you're just independent and you don't have it, if you need assisted living, like we were talking about, you can bring your own services or you can go to the doctor as long until it comes to a point where the community might say, okay, we're no longer, you're at the point where you need care all the time, they're gonna ask you to go on. So it's kind of like you have to really know you, and you have to know your finances, and you have to know whatever. But there's a lot of people out there to help you navigate this. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt.
Those are all great points. And one thing I will point out too is that CCRCs will not take in somebody that knocks on the door and says that mom needs assisted living and we want to move in here. You have to start in the independent living because if they take people off the street moving into assisted, that takes away that spot for somebody that's paying that upfront fee and paying more money to move in with the well-being, knowing that if I need something, there's going to be a place for me to go. So, it's a different ballgame. It's a lot more expensive, a lot more upfront. It can be more monthly, but it can be a great option for some people.
What if somebody doesn't have that money and there's nobody left to build, like children or?
Yeah, so if people don't have the funds for private pay, there's always an option to meet with an elder law attorney and talk about, if they would qualify for Medicaid and, if you have assets or a home to sell, helping to assist with spending that down to apply or to see if you qualify for Medicaid. So anytime I have families that are in that situation, I give them a few names of some elder law attorneys that we work closely with that can guide them in that direction. But yeah, it's either private pay or Medicaid. So Medicare does not pay for any assisted
Who's
living.
going to pay for that attorney?
Right? It all goes back to that, Carol. It all goes back to that.
Yeah. Well, it's the individual that's needing guidance on, how to afford a community that's going to have to pay for that attorney. So Medicare will pay for the occupational therapy and PT, that sort of thing, but Medicare does not pay for assisted living, does not pay for independent, doesn't pay for any of
The
that.
place to live, Medicare doesn't pay for, but to help you live there through health services, they will. Stuff like that. So it's all private pay as far as that goes.
The Methodist Church at one time, I'm not sure how everything is today, but the Methodist Church one time had a place, I don't know where, we went and visited, remember, And that somehow you started in an apartment, and then you stayed there, and as you got worse, as you call it, you stayed in that apartment until you no longer could get, but they serviced you in that apartment. Is that, I don't even know. if
I
that's-
don't know of anything like that now by the Methodist Church.
Okay.
Was that a long time ago?
Oh, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it was
just by
attractive
sheer
at the time, I
population.
know that.
Sheer population of the aging population and the significant rise. In 2011, the first baby boomers were turning 65 in 2011, right? And that goes for another 18 years. So you're gonna go, pretty soon we're gonna be at the end. So the baby boomers started turning 65, and ever since 2011, the aging population in the US has gone like this because of the baby boomers, right? The housing can't be done quick enough. There's not enough, whatever, and it's a very good business to own, obviously. But the sense of, I can't get in, there's a sense of lack, and lack causes uncertainty, which causes a sense of fear. And what we're trying to say, that there are availabilities across the board of places where you can go. But if you go to independent, I like the idea of the independent assisted living in the same building. That's my personal thing, because I've seen people go in independent, and within 2 years, they need like every day they need some sort of help, so they had to go out and go somewhere else. But if they get into the combinations, you spoke earlier about the combination ones, so you really gotta figure what's for you, but don't live in the basis of fear, because what you're gonna do is that you're gonna I think you're not gonna live your fullest life. You're gonna pay a lot, but just try to get into the idea of where you are, where you want to be, and if living in a community is truly what you want, and you want to stay in a small individual home where you can bring services in. It's the same idea. So anyway, that's another story for another day. I'm sorry, Coleen.
No,
I just keep ratting on.
And that's really it. And so, really what I will wrap up and say is that, as a senior living specialist, one of the big things that I do as I sit down with new families is really just find out, first of all, what's important to the resident.
That's right.
It really comes down to what are they looking for in a community? Is it more the socialization? Is it having an on-site pool? Is it the sense of security? And is it having the 3 meals a day? Everybody will have their own idea or vision of what is important to them, and that's the first thing that I always ask. The next thing is going to be budget. So everybody has a budget. People don't always know right away what their budget is, or if they're looking for their mom or their dad, they may not have dug into their finances. They don't know what their assets are. They have no idea what the actual budget is, but that's going to be a big part of it, because as a senior living specialist, that's the first way I narrow down communities, is what's affordable to the family. So if it's an independent living that has assisted living that they're really looking for, that the two that we have in Wake County that they're looking at may be already out of their budget. So I try to save them time by being proactive and saying, based on your budget, based on your needs, based on the location that we're looking at, here's what your options are. And then we look further. Do they have immediate availability? Is it something that we should start touring and get on a wait list? Because a lot of these places will have wait lists. Some of them will have openings, but I've had folks that I've tried to help that had certain needs or certain areas that they were looking at, and I had a family I just placed recently, and they were on a wait list for 6 months for assisted living and had to have home care services in the home that cost more than what the rent was at assisted living, but they were dead set on this is the place that's going to be the best for dad. So we just kind of held out for 6 months. That's not always the case, but it can be too. So, and I'll give everybody my information. Does anybody else have any more questions?
Anybody have any questions?
No?
Okay, so Coleen, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
just talking to the video right now. So everything about what to do with community
You're
living,
welcome.
everything we do about with community living and everything. Coleen, you can come up here. I can still talk with you. All About Seniors is a great company in North Carolina. And if you have any questions, call Coleen. If you have any, hey, I want to see these 2 places, she'll take you around if you're really interested in going. I think knowledge, education is such a sword to us. It doesn't, if you don't understand what it's about, how can you ask where to go? How do you know where to go? It's like anything in life. If you don't have an understanding of what it is, how can you actually ask for it to benefit your life? So empower yourself with the education of knowing about the senior communities, about knowing questions cost you nothing. In some places they do, but not here. Not with All About Seniors, right? You can call Coleen anytime. All About Seniors, in the video, if you just All About Seniors in North Carolina, is it Raleigh you're based in? Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, it's just All About Seniors NC, yeah.
NC,
Yep.
allaboutseniorsnc.com. So the idea about livings is don't try to panic, I have to go, what's the idea? Like Carol, you even talking, right? And you were saying, well, what if I can't afford? What if? You had a lot of question marks. See these question marks? These are the people you need to speak
Yeah,
to.
happy to help.
Because what they're going to do is they're basically going to say, okay, what is your financial, what is it? And you look at a whole, what's realistic? If it have a monthly cost, what is that by the year? How many years you plan on being alive? Not that you can say, hey, I know he's sitting there going, I don't know if I may take out the garbage and fall. But the point is, we don't know. What we need to do is start. You need to start somewhere. And that starting point is by asking questions to a professional in the category of which you have these concerns. You have to do it. It's free. Just call allaboutseniorsnc.com. But anyway, you guys get it. There's some stuff up here as well. Should be more than happy to talk to you afterwards. We're gonna shut down the video. I'm gonna say goodbye. They're gonna edit it, but stay around and please talk to her. And also anything else, aging in place and anything else. Anybody here need my card? I'll give my card out, but call me, write me, anything you want, questions. You know, I'm a real estate agent as well. I'm into the aging. So if you want, what's the best way to position your house on the market? How do we get people that can benefit from your house? And it's all about the aging community. I'm a national speaker on aging right now. And I've been for a while, but everything about selling the home, pricing the home, where to move, it's all question mark. But you get the right professionals on board that are on your side to do the best thing for you. Get rid of those question marks. Just pull on it and make it an exclamation point, right? And that's where you gotta go. Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful day. And Colleen's here to talk to you if you want to stay behind and have a conversation with her.